up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Hope you had a good weekend. Happy Memorial Day. I'm recording this early Monday morning on Memorial Day, and it's the official start of summer. Weather's good. It's starting to feel like it's time to fire up the grill, all that good stuff, and that's for a lot of people. That's kind of what Memorial Day is. But the reason it's a holiday is it's a whole different story, and I've done this before, and I always have a hard time figuring out how to do. I always feel like I should do something for Memorial Day, and I always have I guess a little bit of a tough time figuring out what to say, because it's a pretty serious occasion. It's serious, somber, kind of sad, but a lot of people just treat it as a barbecue holiday, and I guess that's fine. But the real meaning of it is to remember all of our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, service members who have died in battle in defense of the country. And I think it's a good holiday to celebrate. But I never really never know exactly how you're supposed to celebrate it. How I don't know. It's kind of it's a weird holiday in that sense. And typically when you think of Memorial Day, you think about your uncle who served in Vietnam, or your granddad or great granddad who served in World War II, and that's perfectly acceptable. That's that's one way to look at it for sure, because it's kind of all encompassing, all the soldiers. So like, I don't know how many people are still kind of like celebrating Union or Confederate soldiers, because Confederate soldiers fall under that too. Like World War One. I think that was when it was first put in place, was after World War One. I could have looked that up, but I didn't. So I was too busy looking up some other stuff. But it's a weird one for me in particular, because I graduated high school in 2004. I was a sophomore when the planes hit the towers on 9/11. And ever since then, we have been at some stage of war, predominantly in the Middle East. But now we're pushing closer to war with Russia, China. There's the shit with Israel going down that are we involved with? Yeah, well, we are, but are we going to like get actively involved in over there and send soldiers? I don't really know. But it feels a little more every day like we're just pushing closer to sending our boys somewhere. And the crazy part is, now in this world that we live in, we're not just sending the boys over there. We're sending the girls too, because you have to, I guess, because equity and whatnot. And anyways, it's 2001 was when we sent troops into Afghanistan, invaded 2003, Iraq. When was it? 2000. I guess it was 2001 or 2021 when we pulled out of Afghanistan finally, and spectacularly shitty fashion. But that being said, we're out, so that's a plus. You know, regardless of how shitty the pullout was, that's as a plus. Um, but we still have stage soldiers, operators, and like we'll talk earlier, just random regular soldiers a lot of times who probably aren't designed to see combat, stationed all over the world, and it's always kind of good to think about that when you're talking, you know, particularly if you're a big support the troops person. Is well, we got a lot of troops, something like 1.5 million, close to that, stationed all over the place. I mean, just everywhere. So it's it's yeah, so it's good to remember that. And on that note, being that it's Memorial Day and we're supposed to remember all of our fallen troops, I chose to highlight the last 5 American troops that have died in combat or war zones, somewhere outside of the United States, in defense of this country, and they've all come within the past years. So, first, we have 3 Army reservists, so not even full-time Army, but reservists from Georgia that were killed in Jordan. And what we were doing in Jordan, not real for sure. I don't know if anybody knows, but we had 3 we had 3 essentially non soldiers in non-combat roles killed over there, and I'm going to highlight them, and as well as we had 2 Navy SEALs that were lost at sea. I guess it's not confirmed dead because we never did find them because they were at sea, but 2 Navy SEALs that died in the Arabian Sea trying to intercept. Well, they had intercepted a I forget what they called it, like a DWOL, DWOL. It's like a essentially like a fishing boat off the coast of Yemen, that was supposedly trafficking weapons from Iran into I guess Yemen, all due to the war going on between Israel and Gaza. And like I said, none of them were at all involved in combat roles. They were all members of the U.S. Army, but and then the Navy SEALs obviously were in, wasn't supposed to be a combat role. It was supposed to be a more of like a police type deal, you know, like stop and search and seize all the weapons. One of the SEALs slipped off the boat when going from his boat to the little fishing boat, and then another one dove in after him to save him. They were both lost at sea. So I'm sure you've heard about all these people, and it's funny how in the grand scheme of things they just kind of get lost in the mix. They get chalked up to numbers, just another casualty figure. But I did some Googling, did some searching. I tried my best to find out anything I could about these people. So that their memory is not just lost. They're not just a casualty number. So that being said, we have there we are. We got Sergeant William J. Rivers. He was out of Carrollton, Georgia, enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserve in 2011. So he'd been in for about 13 years. Was 46 years old. Left behind a wife and a teenage son. Enlisted in the reserves as an interior electrician. First assigned to the 990th Engineer Company at Fort McGuire-Dixon, New Jersey, after completing advanced individual training. We also had Specialist Kennedy L. Sanders, later posthumously was promoted to sergeant. She was of Waycross, Georgia, enlisted in the Army Reserve in 2019. A horizontal construction engineer. And then Specialist Breonna A. Moffet of Savannah, Georgia, also enlisted in 2019 as a horizontal construction engineer. And there wasn't a ton. There's a lot of times I wish I had come up with this idea beforehand, so I could maybe reached out to the families and had them speak if possible. But I started searching earlier tonight, and the crazy part about all of this, all of these people that were killed in Jordan is, like I said, they were non-combat people. So William Rivers, his friends called him Will, was an electrician. That's what he did. He had been deployed to Iraq before, and had received all sorts of commendations, but he was not a door kicker. He was not a guy that they sent out to clear houses and shoot the bad guys in the face. No, he was like building infrastructure. Sergeant Kennedy and Sergeant Sanders, Kennedy Sanders and Breonna Moffet, both of them were specialists at the time, posthumously given the rank of a sergeant. I wonder why the guy wasn't promoted posthumously either, but that's neither here nor there. But Kennedy Sanders and Breonna Moffet were what they called a horizontal construction engineer. Essentially, they drove heavy equipment, built roads and shit to create infrastructure for the rest of the army. What all of them were doing in Jordan, I don't really know. One of them, I think it was Kennedy Sanders. Let me see if I can find that tab. I think maybe it was Breonna Moffet, but her mother had said like she didn't even know where she was deployed because it was classified, and it begs the questions like, what if it's that classified? Why are we sending reserve soldiers over there? Like, seem like that'd be classified missions should be reserved for somebody who's going to do some actual shooting. And I'm not trying to downplay their skills as a soldier. I don't have any idea, but given their occupation and what they were assigned to do, I mean, they were not supposed to die in combat. But all of that, I guess we'll just I'll just go through what I could find. So Sergeant William Jerome Rivers was a native of Philadelphia. His wife was interviewed, but she declined to be identified. Had been married to his wife for almost 11 years and they had a teenage son. His wife said her husband had always been there for them, even when he was away on military duty. She described his passing as a shock, which, yeah, he's like I said, he's not a door kicker. He's in the military terms, he's a pogue, person other than a grunt. There's a lot of shit that happens that makes the guys that actually go shoot bad dudes in the face able to do their job. And yeah, and then sometimes they get caught in the crossfire. In this case, they had not even crossfire. They were just there at an outpost in Jordan, which was right across the border from Syria. It seems really, really dumb. I was able to find his obituary, and yeah, it was kind of hush hush on a lot of these. I wasn't able to find a whole lot of information about the people, and I found that to be sad. Like I said, I don't want them just to be another number of soldiers killed in a war that, in all reality, we have no business being involved in. But so here's the obituary. I'll kind of skim through it. So Staff Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, affectionately known as Will, born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on February 27th, 1977. He was the second son of Annette Belinda Jenkins and Edward Rivers. The vibrant neighborhoods of Philadelphia shaped William's formative years. He spent his early childhood in North Philadelphia, where he was surrounded by the warmth of family and friends. He received his education within the Philadelphia public school system, graduating from Germantown High School, and continued to pursue further studies at Cheyney University of Pennsylvania and Lincoln Technical Institute. Oh, so his wife is mentioned in here. I won't bring her up. Will enlisted in the Army Reserve on August 30th, 2011 as an interior electrician. He was first assigned to the 90th Engineer Corps at Fort McGuire-Dixon, New Jersey. After completing advanced individual training, he then served with the 465th Vertical Engineer Company. In 2018, Rivers was assigned to the 375th Vertical Construction Company and completed a 9-month rotation to Iraq in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. I'm pretty sure there's guys in the Army that are just, their job is to make up code names for all these deployments. But anyway, Operation Inherent Resolve. In 2022, Will was assigned to the 718th Engineer Company, 926th Engineer Battalion, 926th Engineer Brigade at Fort Moore, Georgia. Staff Sergeant Rivers awards and decorations include Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal with C device, Army Achievement Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, 3 Army Reserve Component Achievement Medals, National Defense Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Armed Forces Reserve Medal with M device, and Bronze Hourglass, Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Service Ribbon, and 2 Army Reserve Component Overseas Training Ribbon, and Inherent Resolve Campaign Medal with Campaign Star and a Combat Badge. Staff Sergeant Rivers was a remarkable individual who touched the lives of many. From a young age, he displayed a deep sense of patriotism and a desire to serve his country. In pursuit of his passion, Rivers enlisted in the military and embarked on a remarkable journey that would make him a true American hero. Throughout his distinguished career, Staff Sergeant Rivers demonstrated valor, perseverance, and unwavering commitment to his duty. He served with honor and distinction, going above and beyond the call to protect and defend his fellow servicemen and women and the values that make this nation great. Williams was preceded in death by his beloved parents and a whole bunch of other people that I don't feel like naming. Doesn't seem necessary. But he was buried earlier this year, February 13th, 2024. Along with him was, let's see. I believe this is Kendall. Not Kennedy. Kennedy Sanders from Waycross, Georgia. Her mom said, as a parent, when she went in as a reservist, I never thought she would see this type of action. She was interviewed by Action News out of Georgia. It said, when I got here, there were 2 uniformed officers, and I immediately knew. She said her daughter enlisted in the Army in 2018. She said, quote, Kennedy is a reservist in the Army. Actually, whenever they're deployed, they're full-time, but she's a reservist. She said Sanders had 2 siblings. One of them was her twin and loved her niece. Kennedy was very athletic, very outgoing. People call her goofy. She was laughing, playing, and smiling. And then alongside her was Specialist Breonna Moffet. She was interviewed by a local news outlet, and she said, I just knew that at that moment when he said that, my baby was gone. I ran downstairs as fast as I could, and just to see the 2 guys that was standing in my living room, and he was telling me that Breonna was gone. Breonna Alexandria Moffet, the oldest of Francine and Purcell Moffet's 4 children, had only recently turned 23 years old when she and 2 other U.S. reservists were killed in a drone strike in Jordan. Breonna enlisted in 2019 upon graduation from Windsor Forest High School, where she excelled in math and reading and served as a drum major and participated in the JROTC, so Junior ROTC. In the U.S. Army Reserves, Breonna served as a specialist, just like her mom, who retired from the military a few years ago and now works in real estate. Breonna liked the idea of getting a free education and had considered working in the medical field or real estate after serving. Her mom had just mailed her a book about real estate to see if it was something her daughter might like to give a shot. She was still exploring what might be her passion. Breonna was assigned to the 718th Engineer Company, 926th Engineer Battalion, and 926th Engineer Brigade out of Fort Moore near Columbus, Georgia. So they were all in the same unit. As a 12-in horizontal construction sergeant, Breonna operated heavy earth-moving equipment such as dozers, graders, backhoes, and front loaders, according to a DoD spokeswoman. Her unit was deployed in August 2023, and she was expected to return home to Savannah in July or August of this year. Her mom and her talked or texted every day. We literally did not hardly miss a day. If we missed a day, it was because she was in a drill, but we didn't miss it. What she will miss most, however, is Breonna's smile. She was the light of everything. She just walked in the room and she just commanded attention. That was her smile, and when she smiled, you smiled. She was a very beautiful, smart, intelligent young lady. She loved her friends. She just loved life. So rest in peace to those three. Once again, they're from a reserve unit deployed overseas. All of them essentially non-combat roles, and got taken out on a drone strike, and a drone strike which injured like 30 other soldiers. No names released, obviously, because they're still either in action or don't know anything about them. But it's something to keep in mind when we're talking about, supporting our troops and being good Americans, like particularly us in rural America. We have this strong tie to people that go serve, and I'm right there with you. I'm child of a Vietnam vet. I was 6 years old when my dad was deployed to the Persian Gulf War, and that shit's hard. If you're not in a military family or whatnot, you kind of just take it for granted. These people volunteer to do this job, and then when they get deployed, it's just like, well, go out there, and I always it's always a wonder, what do you say to people? Stay safe, kick some ass, whatever. But and most people don't ever think about that. But now they're gone, and we're remembering them here today. So, rest in peace, Kennedy, Breonna, and Will. You served our country selflessly, and I hope their families are I don't even know what to say, doing okay. It's gotta be awful tough, and it's not much condolence, but at least the two ladies weren't married with children and not leaving spouses and kids behind, as Staff Sergeant Rivers left behind a wife and a teenage boy, and that's got to be tough. So then moving on to our Navy SEALs, who are actually actual gunfighters. And do you say killed in action, because they weren't being shot at, but it was a very high risk operation they were involved in. So it was choppy seas, storming, and they were on their little Navy SEALs boat. I'm not sure exactly what type of craft they were on, but they were essentially intercepting this ship, like I said before, that was thought to, and I guess later confirmed, to be carrying weapons from Iran into Yemen, and Yemen, which is right on the Red Sea, has essentially shut down shipping traffic through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, which is a big, kind of a big deal. A lot of traffic goes through there, but in the process, so we have special warfare operator, first class Christopher J. Chambers, 37, of Maryland originally, and then special warfare operator, second class, Nathan Gage Ingram. He was 27 years old, out of Texas. We're out on the waters of January 11th, seizing a vessel illegally transporting advanced lethal aid from Iran to supply Houthi forces in Yemen. That's what the Navy said. So the official story was that Nathan slipped and fell into the sea trying to board this this other vessel. Chris Chambers jumped in after him, and I believe they looked for him for about 10 or 11 days before they officially declared him dead. And there's it's just it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it. Just like what did they die for? Well, we're not at war with Yemen officially. We're allies with Jordan, and they all of these attacks. Well, the attack on the base and then the shipping vessel. It was all related to this Israel Gaza deal, which I'm not going to get into that whole side of it. Whether who's right or who's wrong. I just know that Jordan, Israel, Yemen, Syria, all of that is not the United States of America. And I'm not sure what the hell we're trying to do. And in this calendar year, 2024, we've now lost 5 service members, injured, dozens more have been injured for I'm not sure what. But I don't want these people to just be lost to history. They're some of America's best. I'm sure they all joined up for different reasons, and now they're gone, and their families have to deal with that. Chris Chambers was a year younger than me, 37 years old. So my age, dude was a state champion swimmer in high school. And being in the SEALs, I don't personally know any Navy SEALs, but I've got several former and current Green Beret friends that I know that they do a whole lot of shit that we never hear about. And then compared to Will Rivers and Breonna, what was her last name? I feel bad. Breonna Moffet and Kennedy Sanders, I don't know what they do either. But they all volunteered, they signed up, they went through basic training, and were all deployed overseas. And then in the case of the SEALs, they undertook a whole lot of extra training. And a lot of the stuff that they did on the SEAL side, like, well, we'll never know. It's classified. They can't tell us. Won't tell us. And so you have 5 families that now just dealing with that. I wasn't able to find much about Nathan Gage. I guess he went by Gage. Was able to find that out. But his family's pretty hush hush. They're not doing interviews and everything, but they did set up a memorial foundation for him. And let me see if I can find that tab. So yeah, I'll pop that up on the screen. But this, like I said, his family was pretty kind of hush hush. They didn't really they didn't want to speak to the media, and I can understand why. But this was from something I found on Facebook, and they were selling hats and T-shirts with all proceeds going to the Nation Gage Ingram Memorial Foundation, Nathan Gage Ingram Foundation, and they ended up raising a bunch of money, and then later awarding a scholarship to a local Texas high school student to help him pay for college. So I don't know anything about their family, but it seems like their heart's in the right place. That's a cool thing to do. And I wish I knew more about all these people. And I would strongly encourage everybody that listens that's not serving to get to know your local people that serve. And God forbid we ever send a bunch of them overseas. Again, keep them in mind, because it's not safe out there where they're going. It's kind of what, what they called in the movies, and I guess I think they still call it that way in the military too. I mean, they're out in Indian territory, and nothing against my native friends, but just colloquial term. You're not from the safety of your own house. You're out there with amongst people that don't want you there, and good chance they'll take a shot at you if they ever get the chance. And we saw that. And nowadays, taking a shot at somebody could be with a drone, not necessarily just a gunfight. It's a really crazy world that we put these people that serve our country through, and a lot of that gets just skipped over because for one narrative or another, there's always a political fight over these people, but nobody actually sits down and talks about these people. But we had Will Rivers, who was 46 years old, so probably not far from getting out. He'd been in since 2011, so I don't know if he was planning on going the full 20. But he's 46 years old, and the older you get, the harder it is to stay qualified for the Army. You at some point your body breaks down, and maybe being an electrician, he would have been able to ride out the the full 20 and collect a pension and all that. But the other two were young black women from Georgia, 23 and 24 years old, whole lives ahead of them. Didn't sound like they were planning on making the Army a career, but using it to go to school, which is a lot of people do that. And then you have the SEALs, who were the one guy had enlisted in like 2012 or 2013, something like that. The guy that was my age, so probably went to college, graduated, and then went in. And the other guy was 27 years old, young man with his full life ahead of him. And it's one thing to say thank you for your service. It's a whole nother thing to think about what those families go through and what they leave behind. So while you're firing up the grill and you're cracking beers this week, or this Memorial Day, keep that in the back of your mind. There's a lot of people out there doing some dangerous shit, or maybe not even doing some dangerous shit. They just happen to be in a dangerous place doing a shitty job, because a lot of the military is a shit job. It's necessary, and I hold a deep respect for anybody who's willing to volunteer for that shit job. So, tip of the hat to you guys. Rest in peace to all of you, and everybody else that is actively serving, and particularly those deployed right now. Stay safe. do your best to make it home. Keep your guys safe. And everybody else that's out celebrating, keep them in mind, because it's not just another number on a report. You know, these are actual people with lives and families, and it's kind of shitty that they're gone, especially the reasons for it. It just I don't know about y'all, but I'm 38 years old. We invaded Iraq when I was 16, and I'm kind of just tired of hearing about this shit. But what are you gonna do besides celebrate their lives, celebrate the lives of those who went before them and gave their lives in service to this country. It's one of the more noble things that a person can do. So, cheers to you guys, Will Rivers, Kennedy Sanders, Breonna Moffet, Chris Chambers, and Gage Ingram. You'll be missed. Your service is appreciated by a lot of us out here. So, everybody else, stay safe, have fun on this long weekend, and remember the reason why we're celebrating. So, I guess it's not a real cheerful, uplifting episode, but then again, it's Memorial Day. It's not supposed to be a cheerful celebration. It's supposed to be a remembrance. So keep that in mind, and y'all stay safe out there. And we'll be back later for another episode of Burning Daylight. But happy Memorial Day. God bless America, and God be with our troops that are deployed overseas. And on that note, move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.